try this again. Biggest mistake. And I just got done doing a session on Zoom interviewing and Zoom etiquette. You think I would have remembered to unmute myself. So anyway, so we are going to get started. It's 4 o'clock and welcome to our panelists. And Megan, were you going to kind of kick it off here for us?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get us started. So thank you, students and attendees. Thank you very much for attending our healthcare experience panel this year. We're excited to have you. We have some great panelists and organizations that will be represented. So we'll go ahead and get started. We just wanted to go over some Zoom meeting norms. I know you're all very familiar with Zoom these days, but just so you know, we are using Zoom webinar. So even though on here we say you need to turn your video off, your video is actually already off because we are using Zoom webinar. Your sound is also muted as well too, but please, if you have questions or comments, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A box. We'll be monitoring both. Whatever you're most comfortable with is fine with us. We won't be doing introductions as there's a lot of participants, but we will have our panelists do introductions. Please just, if you notice any negative behavior, please let us know in the chat if there's any issues. We don't anticipate anything, but we definitely want to make sure that we have an inclusive space for everyone. And then we just wanted to let you know that there will be a check-in that we have added into the chat. So with the check-in, you'll click on that Google form and you'll just enter in your information. And with that information, you will be entered into win a raffle prize. And so the raffle prize is this nice Zoom Pack starter kit. You get a cell phone stand and then a Zoom light. So if you put that information in, we would really appreciate that. We want to say thanks to our sponsors for this year's Work Like a Laker conference. So CED is sponsoring our conference, so we appreciate their support. And then lastly, if you have any technical difficulties, if you just want to contact our office, you'll see the information there. If you do notice anything, please put it in the chat too, and we will address that. We have a few of us that will be Zoom driving, and we'll take care of that for our presenters. And then lastly, just wanted to touch on our remote resources that we have at the Career Center. So we have our virtual career lab. So if anybody needs any resume, cover letter help, if you have any career questions, if you're prepping for an interview and you need on-demand help, our office offers our virtual drop-in through Blackboard Collaborate. And so that's Monday through Thursday, 11 to 7, or Friday, 11 to 4, and then Sundays, 5 to 8 p.m. We also have Handshake where you can check out our job postings. We have our remote or virtual appointments. So we are doing phone or virtual appointments at this time. And then we also have e-resume reviews if you aren't able to make any of the other options. All right. And then Steph, I think we're all set to go. So we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. And I would like to just reach out and say thank you to our campus partners as well that helped us put on this event, Kirkhoff College of Nursing, the class pre-professional group of advisors, and the College of Health Professions and the Career Center. So thank you to our partners. And then to our employers, thank you hugely. So we have Spectrum Health and Munson. Thank you, Munson, for being a part of this. And this is the beauty of the virtual world, is we can bring in our Traverse City employers, Mary Free Bed, Ivy Rehab, Hope Network, and Bronson. So thank you all for being here, and we'll just kick it off. And my first question is truly just, if you want to introduce yourself, maybe tell us what your role is and what organization you represent. So Dan, we'll start with you. If you just want to kind of give us that intro. Oh, and you're muted. you pulled a Stephanie. Oh, still muted. I wonder.
There we go.
There you go. There you go.
Sorry. My name's Dan Combs. I'm the volunteer coordinator for Spectrum Health Grand Rapids. Have been so for about the last 6 years. We have several coordinators at all of our Spectrum Health locations. So I handle Butterworth and Blodgett Hospital in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Awesome, thank you. Hannah from Bronson, if you would like to introduce, as I just kind of gave it away already, but you can tell us a little bit more.
No problem, thank you. Yeah, Hannah Lehman's from Bronson. We're not necessarily as well known in the Grand Rapids area just because we're about an hour south, but we are the largest healthcare provider in Southwest Michigan, specifically covering Van Buren, Calhoun, and Kalamazoo County. I'm an employment coordinator. I've worked as a recruiter previously, and like Stephanie said, here representing Bronson today.
All right, and then with our Munson duo, I don't know who wants to introduce yourself, so I'll let you guys figure that out.
I am Amanda Chappell. I specifically am the clinical nursing recruiter for Munson Medical Center in Traverse City. So also a nurse here at the hospital as well, but that is my area of specialty, kind of newer to nursing recruitment. Prior to that, I've always worked as a critical care nurse. So it's kind of fun to be on this side and encouraging students and get you guys started in your career. And I will let Kara take the rest over.
Yeah, and I'm Kara Shemansky. I'm another one of the recruiters with Munson Healthcare. My primary area of focus is in our ambulatory setting. So our urgent cares, primary cares, the specialty clinics, and I work across our entire region. So a lot of people do associate Munson with Traverse City, but we actually cover almost 30 counties in northern Michigan. So Manistee, Frankfort, Gaylord, Grayling, Charlevoix, all across the board. So I look forward to chatting with everyone.
Awesome. And I do, part of our focus this time around for our healthcare experience panel was to find organizations that had a bigger footprint, because we know we have students that are all over right now. A lot of them are doing school remotely. So it's wonderful to have such a big representation of Michigan, of opportunities. So thank you for explaining that Munson does have a bigger footprint than just the Traverse City area. All right, Josh from Ivy Rehab.
Good afternoon. I'm Josh Schultz from Ivy Rehab. My role is a human resource business partner. I've been with Ivy for almost 2 years now. We are a outpatient physical therapy company, primarily in adult ortho, but we also have some pediatric operations. We have 250 clinics in 11 different states. So here in Michigan, we do have clinic operations in West Michigan, Grand Rapids, over in East Michigan as well, and continuing to grow. So in my role, I specifically support the Midwest, Michigan, Illinois, and Indiana.
Thanks, Josh. And Hannah from Mary Free Bed.
I am Hannah from Mary Free Bed. I am the new volunteer coordinator. So I've been in this role about 3 months, but I work within the HR team. So I work closely with them for different recruitment and things like that, and kind of a pipeline through. Right now, we just have volunteers here in our Grand Rapids campus, but we do have Covenant over in Saginaw that has a new building coming up. And then we do have satellite offices throughout Michigan. So yeah, right now just Grand Rapids, but maybe more.
All right, thank you. And then Alyssa from Hope Network.
Hello, I'm Alyssa. I am the Senior Talent Acquisition Specialist with Hope Network. I primarily focus on our neuro rehab out of Grand Rapids. And then we also have a team of about 13 other recruiters that handle all the other positions within Grand Rapids, all the way to the east side of the state. So we are also statewide.
Awesome. All right, and we'll just kind of stick with the same rotation of people. So Dan, my next question to you really is, what opportunities do you have on your site? These could include, though, maybe virtual opportunities of volunteering. I guess, what is your biggest need right now, and what are maybe some future needs that you may foresee?
Yeah, so we're in an interesting space with COVID. We've had our program suspended since March, so a full year now, full 12 months, and we don't currently have a timeline for the return of our current volunteers, which is frustrating for all of us. And I think part of that is we are very involved in the DeVos Place Mass Clinic downtown. So that's taking up a lot of our resources, but our hope, and we will know a lot more in the coming months, but our hope is that we're going to return to a very similar program that we had prior to COVID, which will include a lot of volunteer opportunities in clinic spaces, whether that be emergency department or children's hospital or our heart center, any number of clinical opportunities. And then, of course, we will have opportunities for volunteers to do things like wayfinding and maybe participating in some peer roles. The one challenge that of course we have coming off of a 12-month hiatus, it feels like 12 years, is that we're going to have to reestablish our programs, because a lot of things have changed within our organization in terms of volunteer leaders and and staffing and resources in all of our different areas. So it's going to be a very interesting spring and a very interesting summer. We are asking folks that get in contact with us, whether it be students or anybody else, to be patient. I think Spectrum Health, being such a big organization, is taking a very cautious approach to reintegrating volunteers back onto campus. So currently, we have no on-campus volunteers. We do have some pre-identified volunteers that are working remotely, but we don't have general, we're not onboarding general volunteers for those kind of things. I would encourage people, if they want to get involved in volunteering, to look at potentially helping at the DeVos Place Clinic. If they go to vaccinatewestmichigan.com, there is a full explanation of what that looks like and how they can help out. But we are still kind of in a holding pattern on when we're going to return volunteers, when we're going to onboard new volunteers. And I know for some students, the summer is kind of what they're looking at. And we're going to move as quickly as we can on that, but it could be late summer and maybe even next fall before we're fully able to do that kind of thing. So unfortunately, I don't have any solid timelines, but we hope to, in the next month or two, start establishing what that's going to look like.
Okay, and then I'm assuming or guessing that there still are, though, maybe some entry-level positions for students that may already have a CNA certification or medical assisting. Are those still obviously opportunities available for them to get in and work?
Yeah, what I would say is, the job opportunities haven't changed. I mean, they can visit spectrumhealth.org and look at, what's available, through that route. And I would also say that there's potential, and our department doesn't handle internships and things like job shadows and things like that, but they can contact our human resources department and certainly, pose those questions about potentially doing some shadowing and things like that this summer.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Hannah?
Yeah,
What are some opportunities?
Yeah, perfect. Similar to what Dan said, we do have a separate department that handles volunteers, and then we also have a separate department who handles students, and then HR handles employees. And so I'm here from HR, but I did talk to our volunteer services team, same boat as Dan and Spectrum, not able to have volunteers at this time, but like he said, closely evaluating that, and they're hoping spring and summer to start that again, but it may look a little different. As far as students go and job shadow opportunities, we are still accommodating that. Our student services is. So if you go to the Bronson Career site, you can complete an application, and it's kind of a blank slate where you're sharing your interests, what your coursework is, what you're interested in learning more about. And then from there, they contact you and discuss what opportunities we may have available. And that does include things like if you have to complete field work or practicum for your program, that would still be the appropriate route for there. And then also, like Dan said too, our job opportunities have not changed though, as far as true employment opportunities. So we still see a lot of medical assistants entering the field, CNAs entering the field while they're pursuing a nursing degree or some type of healthcare degree. Across the board, not necessarily clinical opportunities, but we see a lot of students come in and want experience in the hospital setting, maybe as a patient care assistant or maybe in food service delivering to patients in the hospital. So a lot of opportunities to consider that we currently have in Southwest Michigan.
And I'm assuming for most of all of you, those opportunities, though, you would like a student not just to be there for the summer, but have an extended time of commitment to the organization. Would that be a true statement?
Yeah, somewhat. So we do, in the spring, we're generally able to post, they're called summer internships and they're posted that way. And so we are, individuals who apply, we know they're only looking for summer, and that's okay with us. We were not able to do that last year due to COVID. We have to be able to accommodate and give people a meaningful experience. And with COVID, we didn't feel like we could do that very well. So, so they're they're evaluating if we can do that this summer. We're hopeful that we can, but we do have what we call our PRN opportunities. And so those, throughout healthcare are generally where you're working 4 shifts per month. So some individuals come and work just 2 weekends a month maybe to meet that requirement. And so they may start in the summer, but maintain throughout their school program because they're able to do both since it's a limited number of hours.
Okay. Thanks, Hannah.
Yeah.
And then Kara?
Sure. Yeah. Amanda and I will kind of tag team this one. Similar situation in terms of our volunteer opportunities as to what you're hearing from Spectrum in Bronson. We do have in the Traverse City area specifically every year summer employment opportunities. We've got a lot of students that are travel outside of the Traverse City area for college that want to come back in the summer and in work. So a lot of those are in our inpatient setting, nursing assistants, some of the entry level roles, and they are summer duration only. And we do anticipate to have some of those this year. So definitely something you'd want to look at on our website. And then in addition, we do have some entry level roles across the ambulatory spaces. So each of the physician practices have a clerical role at the front desk, scheduling patients, checking people in. Those are always opportunities that are available. I know that Grand Valley has a great health information management program. We do have coding opportunities, and Munson has really kind of embraced the remote work culture. Our coders have been working remote even prior to COVID. So those are also great opportunities for Grand Valley students to check out, because even though they might be posted in Charlevoix, for example, or in Traverse City, you really can be located anywhere to conduct those roles.
And that's the great thing too that Kara said. All of us recruiters work together very synergistically. So if you happen to apply for something, but you're really looking for something maybe in another region, I'm going to quickly connect you with one of those other recruiters for those regions. But specifically speaking of the Traverse City area, our population triples every summer. And so to say that we aren't looking for extra help in the summer is a severe understatement. So it's just a busy place in the summertime. And so lots of opportunities for nursing assistant positions, EVS, food service, unit clerks. And what you'd want to do, like if you're specifically looking for those positions, is kind of like what Hannah said, look for those PRN positions. So they might not be posted as like a summer internship per se, some will, but others, it's a great opportunity to be PRN, work pretty much as you want in the summertime, but then stay on, and maybe during your Christmas or Thanksgiving break or spring break, come back up and work if you happen to have people in the area. But it's just a great way to get yourself in the door, get to know the areas of the hospital that interest you, especially from a nursing standpoint. I don't think there's any more valuable experience than being a nursing assistant or a patient care tech, truthfully. It just gives you such invaluable experience, helps you kind of get your foot in the door. It's almost like a little bit of a interview, if you will. And it's also kind of a nice place to be able to see, okay, I really like this area of nursing, or I really like this area, and kind of help yourself isolate what you're interested in. But lots of opportunities. We are starting to increase our volunteers. Fortunately, up here in Northern Michigan, we haven't had the numbers that they have downstate. So we did get notification, I want to say it was a couple of weeks ago, that we are going to start slowly bringing volunteers back in the space just because our numbers are down so significantly. So you can look online for those opportunities as well. And then certainly if you're just kind of toying around the idea and don't know which direction to go, you can always reach out and we'll help.
Okay, and we did post all of your information and contact information that you provided us in the chat. So students, if you do want to get that, it is already in the chat there. And as this is also recorded, so if you need it, we can send it to you as well, and you can replay it and get the information. So thanks, Amanda. And then Josh?
Great. Yeah, similar to what others have said, we've limited some of our student opportunities. Most of our unpaid student opportunities are dedicated to students that are doing their fieldwork placements. So employing physical therapists and occupational therapists. We have students that are in their graduate program. We partner with the local universities, and we have clinical instructors on staff that work with those individuals as part of their fieldwork placement. We do have some paid opportunities. It depends on the region and the need at the time, but some popular ones for students, probably the most popular one would be our physical therapy aid position. Great opportunity for somebody that's especially interested in physical therapy or occupational therapy, but not limited to that. So if anybody's interested in any other healthcare role and they want experience of working in a clinic, that's usually a great opportunity for students because we do have some flexibility to work around the schedules there. We also employ positions that we call patient representatives or patient coordinators. So this is more of a clerical administrative role. Most of our opportunities there are full-time, but we do occasionally have some part-time or per diem needs for patient reps and patient coordinators to help staff the front desk, greet patients as they're coming in. There's some level of insurance authorization or work in collecting the insurance information, but heavy on the customer service side of things. Best way to find out any of those opportunities for paid roles would be to go to our website, and we have a link on there to search for open positions, and then specifically, look at different markets. Being that we are in 11 different states, we have operations in multiple different areas, but those ones that I mentioned specifically are in-person roles right now, not virtual opportunities.
Yeah, and Josh, your Ivy is kind of an umbrella for other organizations that fall under that, correct? Like what are some other sites that you kind of oversee or that the Ivy is over?
Yeah, so Ivy has been growing very rapidly, a really exciting company to be working for. And as part of our growth initiative, we partner with existing physical therapy companies. So for example, in the West Michigan market, Generation Care, which has clinics along the lakeshore here in Grand Rapids as well, and Northern Physical Therapy here in the West Michigan market are some of the more common names that people might be familiar with. In East Michigan, we have pediatric operations, and one of our partners there is Leaps and Bounds. So if anybody's from the East Michigan market, that might be a company that you would be familiar with. So usually with our branding, we continue to use the existing brand and name, but it might be labeled as an Ivy partner. So all of those would be located on our website.
Thanks. And then Hannah, there's some opportunities you may have.
Yeah. So for Mary Free Bed, we do have quite a few actual volunteer opportunities right now. Due to the nature of how our volunteers kind of function, we were able to bring them back pretty quickly after COVID. So we do have our college student volunteer program. So that kind of entails and is specifically tailored to our OT, PT, and rec therapy students. You're going to be able to kind of be in the gym and assist with cleaning and helping physical therapists or OTs get equipment that they need or helping kind of shift over between therapies. So it is kind of a really great opportunity to be able to really be in those gyms. They're kind of specialized as well. So you can be in a traumatic brain injury gym or a spinal cord gym or something like that if you have specific areas. So right now we do have opportunities in both inpatient and outpatient, adult and peds. So it's kind of an exciting thing to be able to do. We do have a few spots left for summer, but we have lots for the fall. So we're kind of starting to get that process through. We also do have some paid positions. We have some CNA opportunities, nurse techs, some more clerical things like other people have said. And then we are doing a few internships, nothing crazy. We do have a few more on the admin side posted, but then I do believe there is some clinical opportunities as well, probably more along the lines of the graduate student level, like others have said. But yeah, lots of volunteer internships. Right now, we are not doing job shadows. So unfortunately, those one-day opportunities were limiting. But if you do want to come in for a semester volunteering, we have that available.
Thanks, Hannah. And I'm curious too, if a student is interested in volunteering, she already kind of said that, sounds like summers kind of fall, like do they have to get on a wait list, or how do they go about planning for being a volunteer? How much time in advance should they be connecting with you?
Yeah, so the earlier the better, as always. We do have a just volunteer@maryfreebed.com email. So if you are interested, you can shoot us an email and we can kind of let you know what that looks like. And we already have people that are on our contact list for fall. So if you know that's something that you want to do when you come back to Grand Valley or Calvin or whatever in the fall, go ahead and shoot us an email. You can get on our list, and then you'll be, ready to go when we send out information about 6 to 8 weeks before the start of the semester.
All right, and then one more question for those that are maybe still exploring, they're not quite sure which career path within healthcare. Are you still offering the quarterly kind of information sessions where they hear from a PT and OT? Are you still doing that?
Yeah, so we're doing virtual career seminars right now. I will say they are mainly targeted towards our high school students, but they are a good opportunity to hear from different people. We have one actually coming up in April. So that, again, you can email the volunteer@maryfreebed.com. Say you're interested in the career seminar, and we can get you on that list, because we do have people typically from PT, OT, neuro, psychology, lots of different things. So yep, that's also an opportunity as well.
Okay, thanks. Alyssa.
Perfect. So currently we are not doing any volunteer opportunities, especially under the rehab services. Our behavioral health might possibly be willing to take a couple here and there, just depending on kind of what the capacity is for the supervisors. We do have some internships that we will be taking come this summer and this fall. And that can also fall anywhere within Hope Network. So we have a couple different service lines. We get a lot in our rehab programs, which can be any PT, OT, speech. We also have a TREC department on site. And then we also do have our behavioral health, which is more of the kind of more mental illness with adults. So they are also taking some, they're kind of thinking for the summer especially. And then we do have a lot of paid job opportunities. We have a lot of 8-hour positions, which typically can fall on every other weekend, but we can kind of be flexible on that, and get you right in if you wanted to at least kind of start interviewing. And then by the time you're done with school for the semester, get you right in for some trainings. And we can have you work full-time if you want to work full-time during the summer. And then when school comes back around, you can just drop your status and go part-time. So pretty flexible on schedules as well. And we have positions all over kind of the Grand Rapids and surrounding areas, Holland, Kalamazoo, and then we are all over the east side of the state too, if there's something in Detroit or Pontiac that you would be looking for, as well as we have kind of recently opened a program up in St. Ignace. So kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah, do they need specific training to do, well, you said a little bit of training, like they're paid for their training? What is the training?
Yes, yep, we pay you to go through all of your training. So that includes everything from like CPR and first aid, but you do not have to have any experience, anything like that. We are willing to bring you in and train you in everything. And then if you want to kind of continue on, like I said, and kind of grow within Hope Network, we would kind of do those trainings as well.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just looking at our time, and we are at the half-hour mark. So I would just like to leave this open. Maybe what students should do next, either connect with you, or if you have any lasting comments or information you'd like to provide before we open it up to some questions. Dan, I'll just start with you. I know you said volunteering is kind of on a hold, but are you collecting candidates, or are you just kind of holding off, or any last comments you'd like to share with the students?
Yeah. We still encourage people to apply at spectrumhealth.org. If you go to spectrumhealth.org and do a search on volunteering or volunteers, it will pull up our page. Right now, there will be a note about how we're kind of in this weird space where we're not able to onboard volunteers as we typically would at this time of year. And we will probably continue to update that as we start, moving towards more of a normal state. But you can absolutely, I would encourage students to apply. A lot of times it takes a few weeks for them to, get references sent in. We still require a couple personal references. So get all that started, because what's going to happen is you're going to get into our system. You're going to be in our database. We're going to see that you're newly applied and that you're an applicant. And once we get through the business of returning our current volunteers and figuring out, where our spots are going to be, where our opportunities are going to be, then, at some point we of course are going to want to reach out to applicants and have them, get started. And one of the interesting things about COVID is it's made everybody kind of reassess how they do everything. And that's pretty exciting for us because we had a fairly time intensive process that we think is going to be much more streamlined, utilizing, virtual tools and Zoom and things like that. So again, I would just encourage students, be patient. We're going to get there, hopefully sooner than later. I would love to see us start reaching out to people maybe in the early summer months, to at least get them, looking towards the fall. So again, spectrumhealth.org. It's pretty easy to apply and get that started.
Okay, and I'm going to throw out another question, and maybe you can all address it as you're giving your last remarks. Health compliance, COVID immunizations, I'm assuming all in healthcare, you need to have certain standards of immunization. So students that are preparing to volunteer or wanting to volunteer in the future, will they need to be immunized with the COVID immunization? And Dan, will you need that at Spectrum?
That is not a requirement. It's not a requirement for employment or volunteering at this point. Again, things can change, but there's absolutely no requirement for that to happen.
But every other immunization.
Yes.
And titers, things, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, flu shot is something we've always required along with TB. I think there's some talk about Tdap being required in the future, but right now it's flu, TB, nothing with COVID currently.
Yeah, so for students that aren't aware of that, if you are seeking out and wanting to do some volunteering, even in the future as you're preparing, there is a health compliance with healthcare organizations. I mean, you can always reach out to us at the Career Center to help you navigate that, but there is a website as well, though I don't have it, but maybe Lisa, Orlando, if you're listening, or Megan, put in the chat box or the page to the health compliance for Grand Valley so they can see what they need if they're doing any type of work in a healthcare setting. All right, Hannah, lasting thoughts? Lasting remarks, not necessarily thoughts, but lasting remarks.
Yeah, I'll echo Dan's comments about the vaccine. COVID is not required at this time. It is offered to our contractors, staff, and was offered to volunteers at the point, long story short. But my lasting remarks, I would say, kind of speaking of Hope's great question in the comments here, would be if you're interested in healthcare, really reaching out to organizations and asking what opportunities are out there and gaining an opportunity. There are so many opportunities that are going to give you exposure to all different roles within healthcare. So we call them patient care assistants at Bronson. It's similar to a nurse tech, essentially. Phlebotomy, the patient representatives or patient support assistants checking in and scheduling patients. You're going to get so much great exposure in those roles to determine what you're really interested in, what you might be passionate about, and what you might want to pursue in your education at Grand Valley. So I'd really encourage you, Amanda talked about this, call HR, call volunteer services, have a conversation about what your interests are, and they can certainly help guide you. And we're excited to do that always.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that any experience you get is good experience, even if it's administrative or if it's more hands-on and you don't want to necessarily do the nursing stuff, but it's all great experience. So I appreciate you guys, your willingness to talk with students and help them identify things that may be good for their resume building or whatnot, getting into programs. All right, Kara?
Yeah, I would echo what Hannah said. There's so much valuable information that you can pick up from any role that you work in, whether that's clerical, nursing assistant, there's the lingo, there's the shift work, there's just understanding how the different departments within a medical center communicate and how they work together. And as well, if you're interested in learning about Munson Healthcare, give us a call. Shoot us an email. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about different opportunities. Something I think that's unique about Munson is that we do cover such a wide area in northern Michigan. So whether you're looking to work at a large referral center, we've got that in Traverse City. We've also got critical access hospitals and really everything in between. So we've got the full gamut of from very small to very large facilities. So you can really get the experience that you're looking for.
Awesome. Amanda, did you have anything else you want to add to that?
We're kind of tag teaming today. It's
I
awesome.
know.
So just to also highlight what Dan and Hannah said in regards to COVID vaccines, we also are not mandating those at this time, subject to change, as we're all learning over the last year that a lot is subject to change immediately. But as of now, that is not a requirement, but for employment, it's going to be your regular vaccinations and then the requirement of a flu shot by October 31st of every year is Munson's requirement. But again, I can't emphasize enough, just getting yourself exposed into the healthcare world is so beneficial. And truly, you might see another area of interest that you maybe thought you wanted to do, and maybe you see something and you think, oh, well, that fits me better. So it truly is also another way to get you on the right path as well.
Right. Thank you so much. And Josh?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. One, on that note of vaccines, we aren't acute care setting, a hospital setting as some of the other employers are on here. So our requirements are a little bit different. We don't have any immunization record requirements as of this time. Kind of like everybody else said, though, always up for review and consideration. But then as far as suggestions or next steps, I think continuing to make these connections as best you can. Unfortunately, it's much more of a difficult time now than it had been, a little bit over a year ago. But I'd say reaching out to any family or friend connections that you have is helpful, even if it's just, going through, asking them some questions, learning more about the different career opportunities that are out there, or reaching out to potential employers, even if there's not an opportunity to, be working in-house or to be volunteering. I think that there often is an interest in having that dialogue and conversation. It might be over the phone or it might be over Zoom, but I think that it's still an opportunity to ask some questions and learn more about the different types of roles that are out there. And those are, valuable connections to be making for, down the road as things do become be a bit more normal in what we were used to, because there will be, I think, more of those opportunities available in the future.
Right. And I always tell students too, I was a recruiter for years, and I know that as a recruiter, I like to pipeline build some potential candidates for future positions. So it's always good to know, even if you're not ready to graduate now, but you're going to be a nurse or a PT 2 years down the road, it's still good to make those connections just to start that networking piece of your career journey. So thanks, Josh. And Hannah?
Yeah, I'd just like to echo kind of what everyone else said. Any kind of experience is good experience. Even though we are a specific rehab hospital, even if you're not going into PT, OT, rec therapy, it's still kind of a good thing to come in because it is a different side of healthcare. We do get quite a few nursing students or PA or different things like that. So it's not all absolutely PT, OT, rec therapy. It's kind of good to see this side of it. Get a little different experience. Like Stephanie said, maybe you find something that you didn't really think you wanted to be in, but you decide you really like it. So that's always a thing. We as well are not mandating COVID vaccines, but we have the regular flu, TB, MMR, and varicella is the 4 that we require, and then background check. So it is a pretty strenuous process, but nothing that you won't see if you're going into any sort of medical care. So you might as well just start getting it now.
Yeah. All right, thanks. And then Alyssa.
Kind of going off of that, we also do not mandate the COVID vaccine. We encourage the flu, but that is also optional for us as well. And then we do require like a TB test and things, and that's done part of our pre-employment kind of process coming in. But other than that, kind of like what everyone else has said, we have so many opportunities, and even if you're not sure where to go, kind of getting in and getting started is kind of one of the best things you can do, and especially kind of hopefully grow from there. And if anyone has any questions, emailing me probably would be the easiest, and then we can kind of have a conversation and see what your interests are, or what you're kind of looking for, and then I can kind of direct you to the right recruiter.
Thank you. I think we've been having some conversations going in our chat box, I see. So I don't know if we want to open up to Megan or Jamie if there's any questions we want to throw out to the panelists right now, if we haven't already addressed some of them.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. I think that there was one question about nurse tech roles and who was offering nurse tech roles. A few of the panelists have answered, but if anyone would like to add if they have nurse tech roles available.
Yeah, Hope Network. We don't call them nurse techs. They're typically direct support professionals is what you'll see on our website, or the rehab technicians. And those are kind of our entry level, like hands-on patient kind of positions.
And same thing along there. Ours are called nursing assistants. I believe some of the other locations do require CNA certification, but those would be how you get into those. We are actually looking at starting a nurse tech program, which is going to require you to at least be in nursing school or pre-med, etc., to qualify for that nurse tech role, but that'll give them a little bit more opportunity to do higher level functioning tasks such as Foley insertions, lap draws, etc. So just a little more hands-on stuff that's kind of exciting.
Awesome.
Another thing you might see in the ambulatory space are called patient care technicians. And those don't require any sort of certification. Of course, they prefer if you've got some sort of EMT or medical assistant certification, but that's kind of the entry level clinical role in the ambulatory space. So they're going to be assisting with some of the basic tasks, like when you go to your primary care provider, doing height, weight, blood pressure, pulse, those sort of things. So that's another thing to look for.
Great, thank you. We've had some students ask if paid or volunteer experience is better. From the advisor's point of view, we would say any healthcare experience is beneficial. It often just depends on what maybe your time availability is, also what the employer is offering at the time. And you may want to talk with your academic advisors. So there are a few academic advisors on this call. So if academic advisors, if you'd like to put anything in the chat, feel free to do so. But in some cases, you might want to check with your academic advisors if you're pursuing certain programs to see if any clinical hours might have any specifications that are needed. So for example, PA students sometimes need to be working directly with patients. So just check in with your programs to see if the experience that you are gaining will apply towards the clinical hours. But mostly any healthcare experience you get will be beneficial on your application to different jobs or to healthcare programs. Take a look. We have a couple of other questions. How receptive are your organizations to international students? What kind of opportunities do you offer for international students?
I'll go ahead and just say that we commonly have international students that come in pursuing volunteer roles with us, and we love having them. The process can be a little bit different based on personal information, but there's absolutely no challenge to us onboarding international students.
I'll echo that from.
Yeah, go ahead, Hannah.
Sorry, Hannah. From Bronson's perspective, I'm not sure the volunteering piece, but I would imagine it's similar to the employment piece. We encourage all students to apply if they're international or not. International students, as long as you're actively a student, there's no barrier to employment. With us, being a student authorizes you to work. So don't let that ever discourage you, I would say, from applying or seeking volunteer employment opportunities.
Okay, great, thank you. One question that came in the chat is if anyone has any PA shadowing opportunities available during this time.
Again, I'll just reiterate, shadowing in that capacity doesn't happen through our department. But if a student contacts our human resources department and, they can email us specifically and we can try to, make that connection for them. A lot of times it's students connecting, with a PA or a physician, or any position really at Spectrum Health, and then just getting that cleared through our human resources department. So the student a lot of times does the footwork and they just literally have to get that permission through our HR to do that. So if they know a PA or if they know a physician at Spectrum Health and they would like to shadow, they can actually make that connection with that clinician and then, get that okayed through our human resources department.
And Munson Healthcare, kind of similar to Spectrum, we are doing job shadows, but it's going to be more associated with the interview process. So if there's specific areas you're interested in, and actively applying to those positions, we can get authorization through HR to bring you on site and do whether it be a multiple unit shadow, just depends on what you're looking to do. But we can do it, just requires some approval ahead of time.
And Megan, I don't know if you want to touch on it all, that we have become aware of at least one or two, maybe virtual PA shadowing opportunities that some schools are counting as shadowing hours. So there are some virtual opportunities to do shadowing as well. They're popping up more as there's a greater need for students wanting those. I think we're trying to pull together some resources, but there are some out there. So you can always connect with us too later if you are still struggling to find those opportunities.
Yes, and Lisa Orlando, I don't know if this is already in the chat, but perhaps we could put the virtual healthcare experience resource. Thank you, Lisa, you're great. You'll see at the link that was just added to the chat, it has a list of resources available, and there are some virtual shadowing opportunities. You will want to check with the program to see if that experience will count, but from what we've been hearing is something is better than nothing, and to keep moving forward with your career planning during this pandemic. Another question, so this is specifically for Spectrum, but were there any paid positions open at Spectrum Health?
I'm sure there are. Again, that's not, we're exclusively volunteer positions, but I just tell people all the time, jump on spectrumhealth.org. There any positions that we have posted will be in there. So it's just kind of one of those things where check the job board.
And Stephanie, I would say that I've heard from some students during this last semester that they have been getting positions at Spectrum. So I would encourage any student who's interested in working at Spectrum to take a look at their job postings. And then one other question that we had, for those without any certification and many of the volunteer opportunities being not available at this time, what are some recommendations to still get experience? I would say just from the advisors side of things, take a look at that virtual healthcare experience, and there's a lot of volunteer opportunities on there. But panelists, please feel free to add whatever you'd like.
So at Munson Healthcare, a lot of my nursing assistant positions, phlebotomy positions are not going to require certification. The only ones that are going to be are the ones that specifically say like CINA on them. So definitely opportunities out there. And I think every healthcare organization for the most part really does have those opportunities, other than maybe like certain areas like home health require the CINA certification. But lots of stuff out there. And I know it can be really overwhelming too when you're looking at those job boards. So if you even just reach out to a recruiter, say, this is what I'm interested in. I know at Munson, we will send you the specific job posting that you can quite literally click on and make your life a little easier, because it can be intimidating. I mean, I know most of us have a lot of positions out there, so that can be another option as well.
Yes, and to piggyback off of that, we have a lot of positions that you do not have to have any certifications, experience, and we have a lot of different job titles, which can kind of get confusing. So if you reach out, like Amanda said, and just reach out to one of the recruiters, they can direct you to the direct position that you might be looking for.
Yeah, and I would just like to add to get creative. I've had plenty of students I've worked with that have come up with their own volunteering or letters to nursing homes or whatever it may be. And those experiences still count. They show that you were doing something, you were taking this time, even though there was a lot of barriers, and being creative and helping people in the community. So it doesn't always have to be a direct patient contact experience to be of value. And get creative too. For those of you who may have some ideas, we can maybe help support that. You can work with the Career Center too to help you figure that out.
Yeah, I would also say as COVID continues to go and more of us are getting vaccines, it's also an opportunity to check with hospitals, or like Dan, I'm working at DeVos to see if you can help volunteer with the COVID vaccine clinics. As we're getting more vaccines around, that's also a good opportunity. I know even here at Mary Free Bed, we're doing our clinics 1 to 2 times a week, just depending on when we get vaccines. And then I'm sure others around the state are doing kind of the same thing. So that's also another option or way to hopefully get involved.
Yeah, and Hannah, thanks for bringing it up. I was going to ask Dana on that too. How do they apply or find out about the clinics then? Because it's not through Spectrum, it's a joint or collaborative kind of effort.
Yeah, and really Kent County is driving the sign up tool. So again, it's Vaccinate West Michigan. It's actually VACCINATWESTMI.com. But if you just Google, Vaccinate West Michigan, you're going to find it. And when you go to that site, it's going to basically have all the information you need to know about that clinic. And what they do is they determine the clinic week by week. Sometimes it's 2 days, sometimes it's 3 days a week, sometimes it's 1 day a week. And then they will post the volunteer opportunities for that day. And we never know when they're going to pop up, and they can change, and it's crazy. I think when we first, extended this opportunity to community volunteers, we had like 5,000 people that emailed Kent County and wanted to get vetted to even be able to sign up. So you have to get a background check. There is some education. There's a COVID waiver. And that's all done electronically. And once that's all cleared by Kent County, they send you an email to let you know that you are now eligible and able to sign up for shifts. And then it's like getting concert tickets. You're refreshing the page and you're waiting for the emails. I've heard that spots are posted and they're gone in 5 minutes. Now, we do expect that to change as more of the community gets vaccinated, because there is that opportunity to volunteer 20 hours to get the vaccination.
Okay.
So that's bringing a lot of people through to volunteer. So it's kind of a win-win. But I think as the months go, and I don't know how long this is going to go, but yeah, and kind of like Hannah said, it doesn't have to be, in hospital volunteering. I mean, I think it would look awesome to put that on a resume or an application to any program that you helped at a vaccine clinic. So absolutely check that website out.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, are there any more questions? If you have any, feel free to type them in the chat. We are running a little bit short on time at this point, but I'll give everyone another minute or two to ask any questions. But while we're waiting, please, if you haven't registered through the Google form that's in the chat, please feel free to go ahead and do so. And Jamie just added that link in there if you haven't seen it already, and you'll be entered in for a prize raffle. The other thing that we would like to add is our career fair is coming up March 18th. So while we are very grateful for these employers that are here today, we will also have more employers at Career Fair too. So you can explore some of those options. The fair will this year be virtual, and so you can download the Career Fair Plus app. There's information on our website, the Career Center website, on how to download the app and how to set up meetings with the employers. Some of the employers that are here today will also be at Career Fair too, so you can access them that way as well. Well, Steph, it doesn't look like we have any other questions.
All right. Again, I can't thank you enough for all my panelists to be here today and share your information and your time especially. And I guess that's a wrap. And students, if you do have any other questions, the Career Center, we can help guide you, help you, maybe connect you to an employer, help you with your resume because you may need that, or an interview tip. So we're here to help with that as well. So
Yes.
that's it.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.